no son de nosotros. No son de nosotros.
Disculpe.
Ya
Yo diciendo que es de...
los cambios no los podemos parar.
Ya empezó el envío, pero igual no han recibido nada. ¿Qué fue?
Pero ellos van a, si el envío se repite, ellos van a ver toda esta vara.
Ay, qué gran cosa.
Yo me siento igual que Dani, le está dando mucha mente.
Y es como,
Y yo,
Pues yo aquí no soy, estoy tucu.
sepa que se la haga así, ¿eh? Pasa la diapositiva, Santiago.
Ok,
Aquí está, ¿verdad? Está chiquita.
correcto.
va para... Ya, listo. Es que los filtros hacen que sea mejor la imagen. Compartir. Amigos, recuerden suscribirse a este canal.
¿Verdad que es lo más triste, querido?
Ready. No hablen más de la gente.
¿Listo?
Sí.
Ya empezó.
Sí. Good morning.
Okay. Well, good morning, professor and classmates. Today we are going to see our last presentation, which is the modern period or the 20th century period. It says that this period has too many changes, and it has positive and negative situations. First, we're going to talk about a little bit about the negative situations that were the first and second World War. Then we have the nuclear power and space exploration, and too many things that change our environment and our situation with people. And then we have positive aspects that we can remark that are the advantages and or advances that we have with technology. For example, we have advances in communication and medical technology. It says that no.
Next.
Yes. Oh, okay. It says that in the second half of the 19th century and the early decades of the 20th century, both natural and social science in Europe had enormous change. Okay, what happened in this time? Everything was like in a normal place, and then the communism started to be part of the society. What happened with this? Sorry, it was capitalism. What happened? Okay, the rich people became richer, and then the poor people became poor and poor. So this situation started to create like different clash or different problems between people. For example, because of the capitalism, people start to get unemployment. So people didn't have work, didn't have a job. They have to see what they're going to do, what they are going to do with their lives. And then it says that because of all these situations, people believe that the period that was before, that was the Victorian, they were hypocrite people, that they thoughts were nothing for them. So, because of this situation, people start to change. No. Yes. People start to change their minds. They didn't believe what the Victorian people said in that time. They said that everything was affected because of this situation. Okay, this new era came and people believed that the people that was before of them, the period that was before of them, was nothing for them. There was not dreadful and those things. Also, it says that what for the Victorian people was important for their children, for their grandchildren, are going to be nothing. Then it says that what was considered honorable and beautiful for Victorian people were ugly, were something terrible for the modern people. They say that in that time, the Victorian people just saw and just accept all the things that the people that were at command said. They just accept those things. But in this new period, it says that people do not believe that, and they start to question everything. If someone tells like, okay, you have to do something, they're not going to do it as Victorian people. They are just going to question it and see if it is correct or not. And because of all these situations, changes start to become. And finally, we have that the Victorian idea of the permanence of institutions was replaced among the early 20th century writers by the sense that nothing is fixed and finally in this world. So, as a result of those situations, other things start to change, like literature, like the thoughts of every human in the time.
In this period, we have Herbert George Wells. He was a great revolutionary who exercised a tremendous influence on the mind of his contemporaries. He was the first English novelist with a scientific training. Also, he had no respect for accepted, which he criticized Harry, untouched by sentiments and no loyalty to the past. Also, his novel fell into three divisions: scientific, domestic, and a series of sociological novels. Some of his works are The Time Machine, When the Sleeper Awake, and The Island of Dr. Moreau. On the other hand, we have Bernard Shaw. He wrote his plays with the deliberate purpose of propaganda. He attacked not only the old superstition of religion, also the new superstition of science. He also created work about question, examine, and test. He criticizes mental servitude, moral slavery, superstition, and selfishness. He is compelled to listen to him even when he provoked, exasperated, and shocked many of them. Some of his works are Major Barbara, Pygmalion, and The Heartbreak House. As you can see, the modern mind was outraged by the Victorian self-complacency. They want a change in this sphere of literature. For example, they want a change in idiom, the manner of presentment, play of imagination, rhythm and structure of the verse. The Victorian writers will become stale and boring, so they are lose the old magic, so their words fail to evoke the spirit. At the end of the Victorian era, it was felt that the ideas, experiences, mood, and attitude has changed, so they need to improve a next level in this period.
Good morning. I'm going to talk about the transition between the Victorian period and the modern period. First, it's important to point out the shift of ideology in the 20th century. The Victorians believed in a more central, in a family-based society. For example, for the Victorians, the family was really important. It was the core of their society. For example, the father had a lot of influence on his children. With the changes in the economy, the children, well, not the children, the sons and daughters of these people didn't want to follow their order. They feel more liberated, they feel empowered, and this leads to a change in their ideology. They move to a more liberal approach. For example, they started to see sex as a feeling, as experience, not in a romantic way. This led to a change in literature because the whole mindset changed, and the same old literature from the Victorian period wasn't evoking spirit, wasn't making the people feel attracted to this literature. For example, these were the old things that were pretty common in the Victorian period. But with the change in their mind, the writer has to change the themes or try to approach the same themes in a different manner, using different words, different tactics to approach successfully to the readers. The scientific advancements played a big part in this change because scientists such as Charles Darwin, Charles Lyell, Aldous Huxley, and the machinery affected really hard the literature world. For example, this person brought a new perspective to the common people. For example, people understood that everything wasn't part of the plan of God, that the world was like a giant mess where the nature was a relentless force without any purpose. So these new theories affected the people, and some of them feel like despair, pity, and these feelings affected the literature. So new writers arose with those ideologies. Also, the machinery affected the literature because the machinery received a mixed reception because some people think that the machinery was good, that was beautiful in its own way, but some people really despise the machinery. So this also influenced the writers of those times to create different works. Now my classmate will continue with this part.
Hi. Well, some interesting facts that influences in this modern period is about that many children were from poor class start to study. So they are very kind of educated and know about reading and writing. So as a consequence, it demands a huge of literature for them to study. Then also this period has many adventure and experiments in human life due to the factors that was already mentioned. This is a period of transition and discovery. Many things about health, human, and politics were new for that moment, and they didn't think or they didn't talk about their opinions and options. Also, many philosophical and psychological movements were developed, although those philosophies were not at all accepted or intelligent for them. Well, it says that parallel to the turbulent current of ideas, at the last periods, all the people had a kind of same ideas of that period, but here they had many differences appearing by changing the years. Now talking about the social, the historical and cultural background, well, we can see a timeline, a timeline that we can zoom. Well, we can see that there are 2 world wars presented only in a few years. That 2 world wars, well, the First World War and the Second World War, were very related with the issues or topics that the writers developed. Also, here begins well, the Marxism was presented with the communism. And we can see that in England, there are changes in the kingdoms. For example, since the beginning, we can see the ascension of Edward VII, and then 10 years later, the reign of King George V. This period also had, well, as a consequence for the British Kingdom, that many of their countries, well, their colonies, got independent. For example, in Africa and part of the islands of America. Well, that was a not so good period for the British Kingdom because, well, after the wars, they were have many debt, have many economical problems, and well, the social problems begins. For example, as it was mentioned before, the beginning of the where was it? Well, the beginning of the Great Depression. Then, about the literary story of the period, well, the issues as poetry, novels, and drama changed, well, had a big change. For example, in poetry, now people uh, make a kind of revolution against the Victorian poetry. They have a different ideas. About novels, well, there was the golden year of the novels for that period because many writers start about writing about novels. For example, in the last periods, they pretend to write poetry and other issues. In this case, was novels. And in drama, Oscar Wilde and George Bernard Shaw, they were pioneers of that period, although they didn't make a kind of revolutionary or new invention or techniques. Next. And well, the distinctive features of the period, well, it says that after the First World War, many features, many trends appeared. For example, the Expressionism, Surrealism, Cubism, and Futurism. For example, in Victorian and the last periods, they didn't thought about the future as they thinking, as they thought. The basic characteristic of the modernism in literature is that the humanizing of art. In this case, they related the man with man, the man with nature, the man with science, the man with the psychological part. New things for people at that moment. And well, finally, for me, major figures of the period were Ward Shaw, that he wrote many plays, for example, and novels, and John Galsworthy, for example, here said The Man of Poverty. I think that it is a novel. Thomas Terry Eliot, The Murder in a Cathedral, and David Herbert Lawrence, Song and Lovers, and James Joyce, who wrote the play Ulysses. Now Susana will gonna explain about some writers of the period.
Well, good morning. As my classmates say, I'm going to talk about the representatives of this period, which are D.H. Lawrence, which is David Herbert Lawrence, and then we have James Joyce. Okay. In the biography of D.H. Lawrence, it says that in 1885, David Herbert Lawrence was born at a mining village in Nottinghamshire. His father was a coal miner with a little education, but his mother, once a school teacher, was from a somewhat higher education class. She think that she had married Bennett her and decided to have her sons well educated so as to help them escape from the life of a coal miners. Then we have here the literary works that are The Rainbow, The Women in Love, and The Lady Carolus Lover. As a major theme in his writers, Lawrence has expressed a strong reaction against the mechanical civilization. In his opinion, the Burgess industrialization or civilization, which made its realization at the cost of ravishing the land, started the catastrophic uprooting of man from nature and caused the distortion of personality, the corruption of the will, and the dominance of sterile intellect over the authentic inward passions or of man. Then we have the analysis of his masterpiece. His masterpiece is Sons and Lovers. Okay? In a brief introduction of Sons and Lovers, it says that it's largely an autobiographical novel told by means of straight to forward narrative and vivid episodes in chronological sequence. This story starts with the marriage of Paul's parents. Mrs. Morrill, a daughter of a middle-class family, is a woman of character and refinement, a strong-willed, intelligent, and ambitious woman who fascinated by a warm, a vigorous, and sensuous coal miner, Walter Morrill, and Mary Bennett, her own class. Then we have as a theme that Lawrence said that one of the first novelists to introduce themes of psychology into his works. He believed that the healthy way of the individuals psychological development lay in the primacy of the life impulse, or in another theme, the sexual impulse. Then we have, as a character analysis, we have Gertrude Morrow, the first protagonist of the novel. She becomes unhappy with her husband Walter and devotes herself to her children. And Paul Morrow takes over from his mother as the protagonist in the second half of the book. After his brother William's death, Paul becomes his mother's favorite and struggles throughout the novel to balance his love for her with his relationships with other women. And as his artistic features, Lawrence's artistic tendency is mainly realism, which combines dramatic scenes with an authority commentary, and realistic feature is most obviously seen in his detailed portrait. With the working class simplicity and directness, Lawrence can sum up all the physical attributes associated with the common daily objects. Then we have the biography of James Joyce. He was born in 1882 into a Catholic family in Dublin. Got his education at Catholic schools, where he passed through a phase of religious enthusiasm, but finally rejected the Catholic Church and started rebellion against the narrowness and bigotry of the Burgess Philistines in Dublin. Influenced by Ibsen, Joyce finally decided to take the literary mission as his career, and one of his literary works are Dubliners, a portrait of artists as a young man. Then, in the major theme, he changed the old style of fictions and created a strange mode of art to show the chaos and crisis of consciousness of that period. From him, stream of consciousness came to the highest point as a genre of modern literature. In Finance wake, this pursuit of newness or overall the normalist and showed a tendency of vanity. The analysis of his masterpiece, his masterpiece is called Ulysses, and it gives an account of man's life during one day in Dublin. The three major characters are Leopold Bloom, an Irish Jew, his wife Marion Tweedy Bloom, and Stephen Dedalus, the protagonist in A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. The whole novel is divided into 18 episodes in correspondence with the 18 hours of the day. In the theme, Ulysses is widely regarded as the most revolutionary literary efforts of the 20th century, if only for Joyce's stream of consciousness technique. In its efforts to create a modern hero, Joyce returned to classical myth only to deconstruct a Greek warrior into a parody of the Waterman Jew. Joyce set a flawed and endearing human being. Then, as the character analysis, Bloom, the Leopold Polly, the protagonist of Joyce's mock epic, is a modern hero in contrast of the Homeric Ulysses. Bloom, Molly Matcher, is the wife of Leopold Bloom, who has an affair with fellow singer Blazes Boylan, is a Dublin singer who has sex with Molly Bloom on the afternoon of June 16 in 1904. And then we have this as artistic features. Ulysses has become a prime example of modernism in literature. It is such an uncommon novel that there arises the question whether it can be termed as a novel all, for it seems to lack almost all essential qualities of the novel in a traditional sense. There is virtually no story, no plot, almost no action, and little characterization in the usual sense. Now my classmate is going to continue the presentation.
Okay, good morning everyone, Professor. And in my case, I have to talk about this writer from Nigeria. I'm going to try. Again, good morning, Professor. In my case, I have to talk about this writer from Nigeria, and his name is Ben Okri. He was born, like I said, in Nigeria in 59, and he was awarded with the prestigious book prize in 1991. He also studied in a college, Ujorjo, something like that, and then he traveled to England and studied in the University of Essex. And another novel of this writer is an African elegy, and sorry, that is a poem. An African elegy and mental fight are poems of him. And another novel from this writer is The Famished Road. And another is Enchantment of Living from Ben Okri. And he gave an interview in a TV, and he says this, and there are visible stories and invisible ones. I am fascinated by invisible ones. And as an artist, we try to enchant the human hearts. And when he said that, it's because you are going to find in all his works this kind of mysterious and superstition and so on. Okay, the tale that I have to talk about is in the shadow of war, and it is about Omomo, a young boy in Africa, and he is the main character. And he was listening with his father the radio, and the radio was talking about war and many other things. But in that moment, when he was listening with his father, the radio also says something about eclipse. And he asked, what is an eclipse, father? And the father tried to say something, I think, funny. Says, it's when the night and evil comes and steal young babies. Okay, please. And also, Omomo was interested in something. In his village, a woman was traveling to the village, And the interesting thing of this woman is that she had a black veil, and the children of the village said that when she walks, her feet never touch the ground, and her body never projects shadows. So Omomo was trying to see if that was true. So, this, okay, when he was thinking about this, because he was in that moment with his father, and he was listening to the news about war and so on, and the eclipse that was something bad when it happened. And there in the village, there were 3 soldiers, and those soldiers were following, or they were after that strange woman. In fact, they tried to look for information from the children there in the village. In fact, Omomo. When his father went to work, told to Omomo, okay, you don't have to listen to that kind of news in the radio, so turn off. Omomo obeyed the order, but in the moment that his father went to work, he turned on the radio again. And of course, he started to listen to the news of war. Okay, in that moment, he was in the window, and he was trying to look for the woman when she came back, because he wanted to see if her feet touched the ground and if his body not project doesn't project the shadow. But this was Africa, so you know when the sun is so high and you have heat in the environment, you fell asleep. Well, that happened with Amao. He fell asleep there in the window. When he wake up again, and he saw that the woman just passed. So he also saw that the soldiers were after the woman. So he started to run and behind, following them. And while he was running, he passed through an abandoned enterprise there, and many other things. And when another thing that he saw the woman reached to a cave, and in a cave a lot of people came from the cave and greet to the woman, and the woman gave some gifts to them, and so on. When he was following the soldier and the woman, he saw first a big skeleton of a big animal. After he saw a snake coming down from a tree. And then he was looking from the river. And in the river he saw something like canoes. But after he saw that they weren't canoes. They were men dead there in the river. So he was so feared. Started to run. And in a big roots in a tree, he stumbled and he got knocked. While he was there, after that he wake up, for saying that way, and he thought that he was blind. So he tried to see his fingers in front of his eyes, and after that he listened some voices, and then he saw a little light, and he was imagining. So enjoy, because he wasn't blind. He went to the light and found his father talking with 3 soldiers. Of course, he started to say, "Hey, this soldier did that, and so on." And the father said, "You have to be grateful with those soldiers because those soldiers bring you again to the house." Okay, the theme of this tale is war. And another thing that this writer has is that he is against totally war. The black veil means mystery in the story. The black woman represents superstitions in the tale. The cave with people is or represent how people in Africa is in need. They represent that they have hungry, they need to drink water and so on, and that represents that thing. And the eclipse represents evil, dark, and the soldiers. I couldn't find this video in internet, so I read only the picture. And in that video, these soldiers gave a rifle to a monkey. And the monkey started to shoot to them. So, Okri represents the soldiers as stupid people that only are doing bad things. Okay, that is what the tale represents, and this is what my part. So, thanks.
So people, thank you so much to see our streaming. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.